8. Count them 8 games on Thursday, which means I believe there's more games on Friday than normal, and then Saturday, I believe we're at 11 or 12, and it's exciting because a week from tomorrow, we go to Vegas, and that's when the fun stuff happens. And what happens in Vegas stays. I'm not going to finish that because people in Vegas don't like that. So let us go ahead and jump into what's going to happen tomorrow. Vancouver's in Nashville. Oh, crap. Nashville's going to remember what Vancouver did to them in Vancouver. And I'm calling this now. Vancouver's on a winning streak, and this could very well be where it ends. The Vancouver Canucks are 14, 16, and 3. Over their last 10, they're 4, 5, and 1. They're 8, 9, and 2 on the road versus the West. They're 8, 10, and 1. Their record on the road's getting better. That's what happens when you win on the road, though. And against Nashville, Nashville's 20, 10, and 1. They're 5 and 5 over their last 10. They won their last game. At home, they're 12 and 5, and against the West, they're 11, 10, and 1. So the interesting thing with Nashville is they do struggle against the Western teams. They own the East. No problem with the East. They're 9-0 against the East. The East can't hold a candle to them, but against the West, they do have their struggles. That being said, I'm not betting on a win for the Canucks tomorrow. Scoring for Vancouver, Pettersson leads the way with 16 goals, 16 assists. Amazing season he's having. Horvat, 14 goals, 14 assists. Goldobin, 5 goals, 14 assists. Besser, 9 goals, 8 assists for Tannen. 10 goals, 5 assists for him. Eriksson, 5 goals, 9 assists. Roussel, 3 goals, 10 assists. Granlund, 5 goals, 6 assists. Hutton, 4 goals, 7 assists. And Josh Levo is on the board with 6 goals, 3 assists. And again, thank you, Kyle Dubas, Toronto Maple Leafs, for Josh Levo in Vancouver. We greatly appreciate him. On the Nashville side, Johansson, 5 goals, 21 assists. Forsberg, 14 goals, 8 assists. Yossi, 5 goals, 17 assists. Ekholm, 3 goals, 16 assists. Smith, 9 goals, 7 assists. Turris, 5 goals, 11 assists. Fiala, 5 goals, 10 assists. Sissons, 6 goals, 8 assists. Ellis, 3 goals, 11 assists. And Arvidsson rounds out the top 10 with 8 goals, 5 assists. And the interesting thing, of course, for Nashville is just how many big star players they have that have been injured. And knowing my luck, they'll all come back tomorrow to play against Vancouver. Goaltenders, I expect Markstrom. He's been fantastic lately. Nelson's 3 and 6, 2.8 goals against, 904 save percentage. Markstrom's 11, 9 and 3, 3.14 goals against, 901 save percentage. On the Nashville side, I kind of expect Saros here. He's 7 and 5, 3.36 goals against, 885 save percentage. Pekka Rinne's 13, 5 and 1 with a 1.91 goals against, 932 save percentage. I expect a pretty feisty game because these teams have played against each other within the last, I want to say the last week. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the last week. I'm trying to remember the exact date. Dates kind of just bleed together. Anyways, Vancouver showed that they can beat Nashville last week, but Nashville's going to show that that was before and this is now. I do think that this is a game that greatly favors Nashville. So there's no thought of putting up an Akbar magnet on this game. That's just not a consideration. So there you go. That's for that one. Next up, Dallas had a rough loss tonight. And now they get to go into San Jose. And that's not going to be an easy task. San Jose has started winning some games and are occasionally winning games that they probably should lose. And tonight Dallas lost a game they probably should have won going into the third and all. But they couldn't hold the lead. Dallas is now 16, 12, and 3. They're 5, 4, and 1 in their last 2. They've lost their last 2. Or 5, 4, and 1 in their last 10. They've lost their last 2. On the road, they're 6, 9, and 2. And versus the West, they're 10, 4, and 2. So versus the West, they still have an excellent record, but on the road, they don't. San Jose, they're 16, 11, and 5. They're 5, 4, and 1 as well in their last 10. They've won their last 2. At home, they're 10, 3, and 2. And versus the West, they're 9, 5, and 1. So both teams very solid against the West. When you look at home versus road, this does favor San Jose. Scoring, Sagan still leads the way for Dallas in scoring with 8 goals and 18 assists. Jamie Benn, 12 goals, 12 assists. Radulov, 13 goals, 10 assists. Spezza, 5 goals, 13 assists. Heiskanen, 6 goals, 10 assists. Shore, 5 goals, 11 assists. Lindell, 5 goals, 9 assists. Klingberg, 5 goals, 8 assists. Dickinson, 5 goals, 6 assists. And Foxa, 4 goals and 5 assists. On the San Jose side of things, Timo Meier leads the way, 16 goals, 14 assists. Logan Couture, 10 goals, 20 assists. Brent Burns, 4 goals, 26 assists. Pavelski, I mentioned that him and Laine are starting to look similar on the scoring. 20 goals, 7 assists for Pavelski. Hurdle, 9 goals, 14 assists. LeBanc, 3 goals, 17 assists. He's up to 20 points. Carlson, 2 goals, 18 assists. Kane, 9 goals, 9 assists. Donskoy, 5 goals, 9 assists. And rounding out the top 10 is Joe Thornton with 4 goals and 8 assists for the San Jose Sharks. In goal, I expect Hudobin because Bishop played tonight. Bishop's now 10-7-1, 2.43 goals against, 9.21 save percentage. Hudobin 6-5-2 with a 2.71 goals against, 9.15 save percentage. On the San Jose side, I expect Jones because he's got the better win-loss record. 12-7-3, 2.87 goals against. He's still at 900 for a save percentage. Come on, Jones. You can get over that. I know you can. Dell 4-4-2, 2.89 goals against, 901 save percentage. This is not a matchup I like for Dallas. Although the Dallas announcers tonight were talking a lot about how Dallas fares very well against Pacific Division teams and how they don't miss the start times for Pacific Division, but Dallas is pretty good against Pacific. And then Dallas just absolutely got destroyed in the third period. I thought you guys should probably be quiet about that. And the interesting thing, too, and I'm saying this from a Dallas fan perspective, I would really like to see a monster game from their top line. Radulov had the goal tonight. I would love to see Sagan looking like the Tyler Sagan that everybody thinks he is. I don't know. There are nights where Sagan leaves me wanting more from him. And I know that may sound crazy to some people, but for people who watch him every game, I think it's frustrating. He has the amount of talent to be a top 10 player in the NHL. And sometimes he does. He'll come out and he'll score 4 points a game. He'll look fantastic. And then he might disappear for the next couple of games. So, Dallas, this is a chance right now for them to solidify their spot in the playoffs and hurt a team that they might potentially be fighting for a wild card spot. And they can't afford to lose this. I'm nervous. I'd like to see a big game from their big players and something great happen, but I am nervous about San Jose. Absolutely. All right, next up. Carolina, 13-12-4 in their last 10. They're 5-4-1. They lost their last game. On the road, they're 6-7-1 versus the East. They're 7-6-2. All mediocre numbers across the board for Carolina. That's not great. On the Montreal side of things, 15-11-5 is their record. They're 4-5-1. They lost their last game. At home, they're 8-6-2 versus the East. They're 9-6-5. Montreal also kind of magnificently mediocre, but they had a 3-game winning streak before that absolute destruction they took at the hands of the Minnesota Wild. You have to shrug that one off. As I said after that loss, usually when a team gets killed by 4 or more goals, they come back with a win the next game, and it is up to them to bounce back against Carolina team that does look like one that you could probably bounce back and get a win against. Scoring for Carolina, Aho, 8 goals, 20 assists. Teravainen, 5 goals, 15 assists. Williams, 6 goals, 10 assists. Ferland, 11 goals, 4 assists. Svechnikov, 6 goals, 7 assists. Stahl, 5 goals, 6 assists. Wallmark, 2 goals, 9 assists. Martinuk, 7 goals, 3 assists. Dougie Hamilton, 3 goals, 7 assists. Rounding out the top 10, Jacob Slavin, 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points. On the Montreal side, Domi, 14 goals, 17 assists. Drouin, 10 goals, 16 assists. Tatar, 12 goals, 12 assists. Petrie, 5 goals, 17 assists. Gallagher, 13 goals, 6 assists. Shaw, 8 goals, 10 assists. Lankinen, 5 goals, 11 assists. Kokaniemi, 3 goals, 12 assists. Dano, 2 goals, 13 assists. Byron, 6 goals, 5 assists. So when you look at the scoring between these two teams, it favors Montreal. It does. But there are some guys for Carolina who you can see coming up with some points. As long as Ferland... What is the status of Ferland? Ferland came back and ended up leaving that game. So do we know what's going on with Ferland right now? Anyways, he was their number 1 scorer and still is, despite the fact he missed some time with a concussion. So it may really depend on the return of Ferland. And Michael Ferland, as much as I love his game, he's not the guy you want to be counting on for being your main goal scorer. So I'm interested to know what Carolina's going to do here. They really need to make some massive changes, and they know it. Goaltenders, I expect Mrazek tomorrow. Do you put in Darling if McElhinney's not back? McElhinney is 7-3-1 with a 2.36 goals against, 919 save percentage. Darling 2-4-1, 3.14 goals against, 892 save percentage. Mrazek 4-5-2 with a 2.55 goals against and an 895 save percentage. And I wonder how awkward that must be for Darling, who at this point is a veteran of the game, and to get waived by a team and then a couple weeks later they're calling him back. It's got to be somewhat awkward. I expect Price and net for Montreal. The disparity between Price and Niemi is becoming very apparent. Price is 11-8-4, 2.89 goals against, 903 save percentage. Niemi 4-3-1, 4.14 goals against, 876 save percentage. The numbers for Niemi are really starting to go south, and whether it's his fault or it's the defense in front of him, I think it's going to add up to an even heavier workload for Carey Price from here. The Montreal Canadiens go as far as Carey Price takes them. And that's a reality that I know there are Montreal fans that get mad when it's said, but that's the truth. If their goaltending is solid, Montreal's likely a playoff team. If Price falters, they probably fall out. That being said, the East, those wild card spots look not sewn up. Sewn up's a little bit too much, but it looks like Montreal and Boston, as long as they play solid hockey, they should be the guys who get the number 1 and 2 wild cards. Unless Buffalo falls down the standings, which I know Sabres fans might still be worried about despite the gutsy performance against the LA Kings. Undermanned at the end of the game, yes, but I've seen teams hold on when they're undermanned before, and that's one of those things where if the depth isn't there on the blue line, it really shows when you get an injury in the middle of a game. But anyways, I do expect Montreal to win this one. I don't make bets. That's not me. Not my thing. Not going to happen. Next up, Toronto and Tampa. So here's your game of the night. Here's if you want to know what game to watch and you're not sure, if you're new to hockey and you're like, what game would be a great one to watch? This is it. This should be a fantastic game. Toronto's 21-9-1. Not bad. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10. Also not bad. They won their last game. On the road, they're 12-4. Pretty solid. Versus the East, they're 10-6-1. Then you look on the other side of the ice and you got Tampa. Tampa's 24-7-1. They're 9-1 in their last 10. That's pretty good. They've won 7 in a row. That's also pretty good. They're going for 8 and they're doing it against a division rival. The only team in the division that could potentially catch them is Toronto. Right now, Buffalo has fallen out of that. Boston and Montreal are not in that conversation. So Tampa, this could be a statement game for them. At home, Tampa's 14-4. That's insane. And versus the East, and I've been mentioning every time we get into this, Tampa now is 18-2 versus the East. When they were 12-2, I said that was crazy. Now they're 18-2 against their own conference. It's just ridiculous. They own the East. And tomorrow night, they are going to try to own the Toronto Maple Leafs. Big time. Scoring. Lots of scoring on both sides for these teams. This could be a wild, crazy back-and-forth game. Marner leads the way in scoring for Toronto with 6 goals, 35 assists. Tavares, 19 goals, 14 assists. Riley, 10 goals, 23 assists. Matthews, 16 goals and 11 assists in 17 games, so he's slowing down. Kapanen, 11 goals, 10 assists. Marleau, 8 goals, 10 assists. Gardner, 2 goals, 16 assists. Kadri, 8 goals, 9 assists. Hyman, 7 goals, 8 assists. Janssen, 7 goals, 6 assists for him. On the Tampa side of things, Kucherov, 12 goals, 33 assists. Point, 21 goals, 20 assists. Stamkos, 15 goals, 18 assists. Gourde, 10 goals, 14 assists. Miller, 6 goals, 17 assists. Johnson, 12 goals, 10 assists. McDonough, 3 goals, 18 assists. Hedman, 4 goals, 13 assists. Killorn, 6 goals and 11 assists. And there's that rookie Joseph with 9 goals, 4 assists. He's just another weapon they have. And Palat's not even in the top 10 scorers. He's pretty decent, too, around the net. It is an embarrassment of riches for Tampa. And this is why when people point out, Sergachev's not having as good of a year this year as he had last year, because they don't need him to have that good of a year. They have such a solid defense. He doesn't need to go out there and do, the 35, 40 points. He can score 25, and it's fine. Tampa can totally pace it out with Sergachev. No problem. Goaltenders, I expect the big names in this one, but I will say this. Anderson, 17-8, 2.44 goals against, 927 save percentage. Sparks, 4-1-1, 2.84 goals against, 913 save percentage. I do see Anderson here. Now, Tampa fans are excited because today Vasi skated and he could be cleared for tomorrow. The word out of Tampa was that when Vasilevsky was cleared, he would likely be cleared and play backup and watch. I would not put Vasilevsky in against the Toronto Maple Leafs for his first action in a month? I would not do it. I would put Domingue in this game, and it'd have to be 6 or 7 goals before I'd consider putting in Vasi. I would not put Vasi into this game. No chance. Not with the high octane offense Toronto has. That's not a good way to be reintroduced. You kind of want to bring them along slowly. In-game action's completely different from practice. Pasquale, he's 1-0-0. 4.62 goals against, 792 save percentage. Domingue's 14-4 with a 2.95 goals against, 905 save percentage. Vasilevsky 9-3-1, 2.29 goals against, 927 save percentage. So we'll see what they do again. If it was me, I'd start Domingue. I'd probably put Vasi into the next game if he's ready. I'd give Domingue the reins. Louis Domingue has shown this year that the more he gets played, the better he gets. That seems to be the case anyways. His save percentage was below 900 a couple games ago. Now he's back up to 905. So he's playing well. And I would give him that challenge. And it also shows faith in Domingue, and it allows you to keep the team together that's won 7 in a row. Those 7 in a row, a lot of those wins are Louis Domingue's. So there's no rush to put Vasilevsky back in the net because goaltending hasn't been costing them games. If goaltending's been costing them games, they're barely 500, they're trying to catch Toronto, and Toronto's way ahead of them, then yeah, maybe I consider pulling some strings here and going ahead and throwing in Vasilevsky in to see what he can do. But in this situation, I don't worry about it. I leave Louis in. That being said, I'm now going to go ahead and switch boards. All right, we have an all-Canadian battle up next. Edmonton and Winnipeg. You have the surging Oilers and the once again surging Winnipeg Jets, who have lost 1 out of 7 so right now, I think. For Edmonton, they've won 4 in a row. They're 8-2-1 under their new coach. These teams are both hot. This could be the other game of the night, I guess. This will take place, I would think, 1 hour, because usually it's a 4 o'clock start my time, 7 o'clock Eastern for Tampa. Winnipeg games normally start at 5 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock Eastern. So I would expect this to take place an hour later. So if the Tampa-Toronto game's an embarrassing score, you can switch over to this one instead. Edmonton, 17-12-2 now. Very respectable record. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row, as I stated. On the road, they're now 8-8-1 versus the West. They're 12-7-1. So very solid record against their own conference. The Jets, 19-9-2, 7-3 in their last 10. They've won their last 2. At home, they're 11-4-2, and versus the West, they're 10-5-1. This should be a great game. You have two teams that are playing very, very well up against each other, and they're both scoring a bunch too, which even makes it more fun. And for the Oilers, I don't know how much the depth scoring is getting better, but seeing that energy line of Kassian, Brodziak, and Lucic, seeing them all get on the board in the last couple of games, at least they're starting to get points. So Hitchcock was patient. He had them playing the defensive game, win games 1-0, 2-1. They seem to have got that down, and now he's letting the reins out, and he's letting them play that offensive game. It's been brilliant so far. We'll see how long it continues, especially with Klefbom out. And this is where we'll find out just how important Klefbom has been to this blue line. McDavid leads the way in scoring for Edmonton with 17 goals, 26 assists, to the surprise of no one. Draisaitl, 16 goals, 21 assists. Nugent-Hopkins, 10 goals, 19 assists. Chason, 12 goals, 3 assists. Klefbom, 3 goals, 12 assists. Darnell Nurse, who's been pretty solid during this run, 4 goals, 7 assists. Kajula, 7 goals, 3 assists. Kara, 1 goal, 9 assists. Larson now has 9 assists. And Russell, 1 goal, 7 assists. So with Klefbom out, guys like Larson, Russell, Nurse, you're going to see them having to shoulder more of the load to make up for Oscar being out. On the Winnipeg side of things, Blake Wheeler, 5 goals, 33 assists, 38 points. Scheifele, 17 goals and 20 assists. Connor, 13 goals, 15 assists. Line 21 goals and 6 assists. So I mentioned earlier, we had Pavelski with 20 goals and 7 assists. Line 21 goals and 6 assists. Very, very close. Ehlers, 9 goals and 11 assists. He's right behind Byfuglien, who has 3 goals and 18 assists. Little, 6 goals, 10 assists. Morrissey and Trouba both have 3 goals and 12 assists. And Brandon Tanev, 6 goals, 6 assists for the Winnipeg Jets. Goaltenders, I expect Koskinen here. This is a big game. Talbot, is 7-9-1 with a 3.12 goals against, 895 save percentage. Koskinen is now 10-3-1, 2.20 goals against, 927 save percentage. On the Winnipeg side, you got to go with Hellebuck. Brossoit is 5-1-1 with a 2.27 goals against, 932 save percentage. Hellebuck is 13-8-1 with a 2.8 goals against and a 910 save percentage. And honestly, if it's Koskinen and Hellebuck, I give a very small margin of a lead there to Edmonton right now. Yep. I really think this game, I could see Edmonton going into Winnipeg and winning it tomorrow. Absolutely. And yet I'm wearing Winnipeg because I was like, oh, I haven't worn this jersey yet, so I should probably try it on. And the big difference between the Reebok replicas and the Adidas is really the shoulder patches. They're so much nicer. And just in general, they don't snag nearly as much or nearly as bad either. So there's a little jersey thing there sprinkled in. Next up, Arizona 13-14-2. They need to get it on track. And tomorrow night they got to do it against Buffalo, who are 18-9-4. And as I mentioned, Buffalo with that losing streak and with the fact Toronto and Tampa are both playing really well, Buffalo's kind of played their way out of the running for that division. They want to get back into it. A good way to get back into it would be a victory tomorrow, and either Toronto or Tampa are going to lose, so they gain at least 1 point on somebody. So Arizona 13-14-2. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. On the road, they're 7-6-1, and versus the East, they're 5-7-1. Got to fix that. Buffalo 18-9-4. They're 5-3-2 in their last 10. They won their last game. At home, they're 10-3-2. Versus the West, they're 9-4-1. So very solid record against the West for Buffalo, and we'll see how that holds up tomorrow night. Scoring leaders. Clayton Keller's your leader for Arizona with 8 goals and 13 assists. 21 points is the lowest amount for a leader. And to put it into perspective, if he's playing in Winnipeg, he would be the number 5 scorer. So even though Arizona's not scoring at its horrendous pace it was early in the year, they still don't have that go-to guy. Schmaltz, 6 goals, 12 assists. Ekman Larson, 2 goals, 14 assists. Stepan, 6 goals, 7 assists. Richardson, 8 goals, 4 assists. Hinostroza, 4 goals, 8 assists. Grabner, 6 goals, 5 assists. Galchenyuk, 3 goals, 8 assists. Goligoski, 2 goals, 9 assists. And there's Richard Panik, 6 goals, 3 assists to round out the top 10 for the Arizona Coyotes. On the Buffalo side of things, Jack Eichel, 10 goals, 28 assists. We're not really talking about Eichel. It's amazing we're not talking about Eichel. Because scoring is so up this year, we're not really talking about Eichel. And he could score 100 points. Skinner, 21 goals, 10 assists. Reinhart, 8 goals, 18 assists. We're not talking about Reinhart either. He's got 26 points right now, but we're not talking about him. Ristolainen, 3 goals, 17 assists. Pominville, 9 goals, 9 assists. Okposo, 5 goals, 10 assists. Dahlin, 2 goals, 12 assists. And he's really setting himself up for a fantastic career. He is so poised with the puck. And I think that's why Buffalo fans are so impressed. At both ends of the ice, he's smart. Can play a ton of ice time. He doesn't hurt you. Sherry, 6 goals, 6 assists. McCabe, 2 goals, 8 assists. And Casey Middlestad on the board with 4 goals and 5 assists. And you get the feeling that he's still lying in wait as well. Remember, a low-scoring rookie season does not necessarily mean you won't be a scorer in your career. Sometimes it means you're being brought along slowly. Or you're just having one of those starts. Joe Thornton was not fantastic in his rookie year. Owen Nolan wasn't fantastic in his rookie year. It happens. Goaltending. I kind of expect Kemper. I'm not sure why. Hill's 4-2 with a 1.62 goals against, 939 save percentage. Kemper's 4-6-2, 2.83 goals against, 909 save percentage. No point listing Ronta. He may be out for the rest of the year. Olmark, 6-1-3 with a 3.03 goals against, 911 save percentage. I think there's a bit of a separation starting to take place. Carter Hutton's really kind of nailing this down. 12-8-1 with a 2.6 goals against and a 917 save percentage. So his numbers are better than Olmark's, and Olmark had the win-loss record, but that sort of started to fall as well. So Hutton really is establishing himself as the starter. Not elite level production or minutes he's put in production. Production, yeah, I guess production is a goaltender if you look at goals against and save percentage. You know what I mean? His numbers aren't necessarily elite, but he's been solid, and sometimes that's all you need to make the playoffs. Just some solid goaltending, and so far so good for him. Next up, Kings. Well, I I guess we'll find out what we have with the Kings tomorrow night, won't we? They're 11-19-2 now. 4-5-1 in their last 10. They've lost their last 2. On the road, they're 4-9-1. Versus the East, they're 5-8-1. So yes, they had 4 defensemen, and that does definitely add to the likelihood that you're going to blow the game late. But when you're 4-9-1 on the road, they were 4-9 going into their last game. On the road, that's a bad record, and that's a team that does regularly lose leads. On the Columbus side of things, they're 16-12-2. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They've lost their last 2. At home, they're 7-7-1, and versus the West, they're 6-5-1. Fantastic. Oh wait, nah, they've lost 3 in a row at home, and it's really strange because Columbus, they really seem to have the world by the ear a couple weeks ago. It looked like they were going to be first in their division, and things were going pretty well. Yeah, Washington was coming up, but how real was the Washington run? Oh, wait, a couple weeks later, and Washington looks like they're running away and hiding with the division. Columbus has to win this tomorrow. LA can absolutely play spoiler, and even with their defense out, I don't know. I think Columbus has a problem right now with their confidence. I think that they have a frustrated coach, and when John Tortorella is frustrated, oh boy, stay out of his way. And that's kind of been the mood that I've gotten from Tortorella over the last few games. Anyways, your leading scorers for the Kings, Kopitar, 8 goals and 12 assists. So even less points for the leading scorer of the Kings than for the leading scorer of the Coyotes. The Kings can't score either. Doughty, 2 goals, 15 assists. Brown, 8 goals, 8 assists. Carter, 6 goals, 9 assists. Kovalchuk, 5 goals, 9 assists. Toffoli, 5 goals, 8 assists. Iafallo, 5 goals, 8 assists. Martinez, 3 goals, 8 assists. Muzzin, 2 goals, 9 assists. And there's Adrian Kempe rounding out the top 10 with 5 goals and 5 assists. On the Columbus side, Atkinson leads the way with 19 goals and 13 assists. Panarin, 7 goals, 25 assists. Dubois, 13 goals, 13 assists. Jones, 6 goals, 11 assists. Foligno, 7 goals, 9 assists. Werenski, 5 goals, 11 assists. Anderson, 12 goals and 3 assists. Murray and Wenberg still have 1 goal and 14 assists to their name, 15 points. And rounding out the top 10, Boone Jenner, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points for him. Goaltenders, it'll be quick. It was Peterson in the last game. Peterson's 4-4-1 now, 2.57 goals against, 927 save percentage. Jonathan Quick, 2-7-1, 3.22 goals against, 890 save percentage. Campbell, who's coming back pretty soon, 5-7, 2.33 goals against, 923 save percentage. And then they're going to have to make up their minds what they're going to do. I think Peterson's just going to get sent down. The amount of starts that Quick's had since he came back tells me they're just going to send Peterson down. I expect Bobrovsky because they need the win. Korpisalo's 5-2-2, 3.54 goals against, 885 save percentage. Bobrovsky 11-10 now with a 3.14 goals against, 898 save percentage. Those goaltending numbers are not going to get it done, and that's the kind of goaltending numbers that will drive Tortorella nuts. And it reminds me of when he was coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they lost a game, and the goaltending was suspect, and he said he liked John Graham. John Graham was a good guy, but they needed better goaltending. So he has no problem with, no matter how popular a goalie is, to say, you know what, our goaltending needs to be better. And I do wonder if he's saying behind closed doors that he's nervous. I do wonder if he's nervous about his goaltending right now, because it hasn't been good enough. And for Columbus, if they make the playoffs and lose in the first round again, this season will be considered a massive failure. They have got to win at least a round. So that's definitely got to be on their mind right now. And that's why I don't think Panarin or Bobrovsky are necessarily getting traded, unless they can make a hockey trade that improves the team. Finally, last but not least, Florida. The Panthers 11-12-6. They're in against the Minnesota Wild, so this is a bad matchup for Florida. Minnesota looks like they're on the road back to respectability. That 7-win game over Montreal felt like basically a statement game. And Florida's coming in now. Florida 11-12-6. They're 3-4-3 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. On the road, they're 5-7-2, and versus the West, they're 2-5-1. It's not good numbers. Minnesota, on the other hand, they're 4-6 in their last 10. They won their last game, so not great numbers either, but they did win their last game. At home, they have good numbers, 9-4-2. Against the East, not great numbers. They're 3-4-1, but that 3, the most recent added to that was the win against Montreal. So with a win against Florida, they even their record against the Eastern Conference. Scoring leaders. There's not a problem for Florida when it comes to scoring. Huberdeau, 8 goals, 28 assists. Hoffman, 15 goals, 14 assists. Dadonov, 14 goals, 15 assists. Barkov, 11 goals, 17 assists. Yandel, 5 goals, 23 assists. Trocheck, 3 goals and 11 assists. Ekblad, 7 goals, 6 assists. Matheson, 2 goals, 11 assists. Jared McCann, 5 goals, 6 assists. Vetrano, 8 goals, 2 assists, rounds out the top 10 with 10 points. On the Minnesota side, Granlund, 11 goals, 20 assists. Parise, 14 goals, 13 assists. Suter, 4 goals, 19 assists. Dumba, 12 goals, 9 assists. Stahl, 11 goals, 10 assists. Koivu, 4 goals, 17 assists. Zucker, 9 goals, 10 assists. Spurgeon, 4 goals, 13 assists. Niederreiter and Coyle both have 5 goals, 10 assists. And both probably a little nervous. Niederreiter's needed to pick up his game. And Coyle rumored to be on the trade block. And I don't know that Niederreiter wouldn't be on the trade block either. Minnesota needs to potentially fix things. Although, if they get on another winning streak and a win over Florida could help them, maybe GM says, I'll just leave that alone. Just leave them be. As long as they're winning, I'll leave them alone. Goaltending, I expect Luongo, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Reimer. Luongo's now 5-5-1 with a 3.04 goals against, 903 save percentage. Reimer, 5-6-3, 3.36 goals against, 893 save percentage. On the Minnesota side of things, I expect Dubnyk. Stalock's 5-3, 2.65 goals against, 904 save percentage. Dubnyk's 11-9-2 with a 2.72 goals against, 909 save percentage. So this is going to be an interesting game in that Florida has been blowing leads and just underperforming. And it's been their goaltending and their defense that seems to be letting them down. And for Minnesota, they have some good depth scoring. Their goaltending looks like it could be bouncing back after a rough couple of weeks. And yet Florida's a team that's known to be able to score. So we'll see. That's an interesting one for sure. All 8 games have some fascinating aspects to them. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.